Okay, let me tell you some convictions that I'm getting right now regarding a decision that my husband and I are wanting to make that is going to cost us money. So, a little bit about our financial journey, just for context. So, I am at 38. I'm a PA. I've been a PA for 14 years now. My husband is 47 and he has been teaching for about 8 years. And prior to 2020, we had like credit card debt, we had student loan debt, and we were super diligent about paying off all the debt that we could. And we just started saving money. So by this time, we had two kids. I was pregnant with my third. I had a house and two cars that we were still paying off. And I decided, because I was hormonal, I decided that I wanted a new house. And so we started the process of building a house. And that's like a whole ordeal. And I'll have to kind of get into that because I lost $25,000. Now, during this time, I had a job that was paying me really well. And it was also COVID. So we sold our house and it did really well in the market. And we saved all that money, moved into an apartment. So we were saving a ton of money, and we ended up using pretty much all of that towards our new home. And that is also a whole story, but because we all love surprises at the end of our build, right? So we moved into our new house in 2022, and it was also the year that God literally surprised me with a job that I had been wanting, and it like landed on my lap, and it meant a few things for me. Not only was I gonna now go into a field that I was really excited about, but there was going to be a shift in my pay, and initially it was going to be lower. So I was like trying to figure out like, okay, well, I already know how much I need in order to pay this house, and now I have to figure out what to do. Let me just tell you, 2022 was such a trying year. It was so stressful because we had moved into this house, and I really do believe that we were pretty house poor. And that's like so like ugh to say, but it's the truth. And it's mostly because we had some surprises at the end of our build that we were not prepared for. And we had sold all of our furniture with our previous house, so we literally had nothing. And that is the year that God started to teach me about money, because money was something that I had such a stronghold with, and it was pretty much a big cause for the anxiety that I would get. And that was a year that I felt that God was really calling me to Him. I was feeling like a stirring in my heart, and I felt like something was changing. But I decided to just trust Him, and I initially was working two part-time jobs. So I was working like my fun job, and then I had to take a second job just to kind of like make ends meet. And then that lasted like 2 months, and I felt that God was telling me, nope, that's not what I called you to do. You have to trust me. Go part time. So I went part time. And it was the scariest time of my life, but also the most liberating, because it was what I needed in order for me to start healing. And what I mean with healing is like physically healing. My mental health needed to heal. I had a lot of anxiety at that time. And it was also the beginning of my spiritual healing. And I can always do a story time about all this stuff, because literally the last several years have been nothing but like just God doing His thing. But going back to finances, it was a trying year. At the end of that year, I remember looking at our bills and literally feeling, what am I doing? We should just sell the house. And because God is who God is, He reminded me that He is the provider. And He was like, didn't I tell you to trust me? And I remember during that time that I was paying bills, I was like looking at my bank account and looking at the things that I needed to pay. And during this time, I was into a lot of social media stuff. I had started just being a content creator and having fun online, and had created a course. And to my surprise, money that I was not expecting right at that moment from the course sales, it just popped up that I was about to receive a deposit in my account. Now, that whole year, I had to really focus and change how I thought about money, because whenever, and this isn't the first time that it happened, but whenever things have gotten harder financially, my husband and I, we lock in. We're like, okay, let's go. Like, let's do this. And we really just reduce spending and all of that. But I can also be an impulsive buyer. And all of that year, I just remember delayed gratification. I was like, okay, well, I'll save it for later. I'll figure it out later. I'll do this later. I'll get that later. Um, and then also we just like we literally we didn't have all the money that we wanted to go and buy our wants. We just bought our needs. And later that year, after the whole ordeal where God was like, nope, remember to trust me, I started feeling that I should negotiate my contract because I don't know, I just felt a thing, a stirring in my heart, the Holy Spirit that was telling me, you need to negotiate your contract. I followed that call. I did what I felt that I was supposed to do. And I ended up having an amazing following year. Like, literally, God provided in so many ways. Not only was I getting paid the most that I have gotten ever paid as a PA, but I was also working part time and was able to continue to focus on my health, on my family, on my husband. In 2023 was a year that I decided to get baptized and rededicate my life to the Lord, because I mean, he is just such a good father, so faithful, and I couldn't deny all of the stuff that was happening in my life, and I couldn't deny that call. And I know this is a really long story time, but like, just hang in there, okay? By this time, we had accumulated a lot of debt, like a lot of debt, because of the whole, like, we didn't have furniture and we were trying to like be diligent with money. And then I made some dumb decisions because I was desperate at some point and like trying out a bunch of different things. I mean, I'm just being honest, right? Like, there are so many things that sometimes we do out of desperation, and instead of trusting God and instead of being diligent and being a good steward of my money, I decided to take control of things with my own hands and my own knowledge. And it ended up just not being a good thing. And that year, my husband and I decided to lock in and start just throwing money at debt. Like, we were like, let's go. And let me just say, we paid around like $45,000 worth of debt at some point within probably like a year and a half or so. Like, we just threw money at debt because we did not want to have that over our head. So we ended up paying off a lot of the debt. Like, we were so happy to be so close to the end. And then at the beginning of last year, we again had a very unexpected expense. And it had to do with preparation. And that's like a whole thing, but like, it had to do with preparation and just not knowing what to expect on something, and then being kind of like blindsided by it. And I'm sure other people can maybe relate to that, where all of a sudden it's like, what? I didn't know it was going to be that much. So again, my husband and I locked in, right? We locked in, and then God calls me to business. And if you've seen any of my stuff that I've posted recently, God has been doing amazing things in my business, and we have been able to now again continue to pay off debt and use that money for good and bless others, and just having a little bit more freedom. And it's been so nice. Now we're hit with this decision that we want to invest in something that we want. It's not a need, it's a want. Praying about it and praying about it, and I've gotten this conviction in Proverbs 22:7 continues to come to mind, which says, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. And today my husband confirmed it with something that he had been feeling. And if you follow Jesus, and if you follow his word, and if you use his word as a guide to live your life, he is such a good father, and he just leads the way, and he reminds us that we are stewards of everything that he gives us. And today I was just reminded in such a good way that, yeah, Flor, don't go and borrow more money. Don't go putting another cloud over your head. continue to focus on what you should be doing. Save your money. Don't worry about those things that you're wanting. Eventually, that may happen, but right now is not the time. There is a time for everything.